This is it. 0 hour. It begins in 3 minutes. 3 minutes until Ludum Dare begins. Um, the panic's setting in a lot, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let's talk about the theme selection. I'm hoping for Broken World, because I think that could be kind of cool. I've got a couple ideas, and I've got a couple pretty wild ideas. So if I can come up with a couple pretty wild ideas, I'm sure a lot of other people can too. And I'm more interested in playing those wild ideas than some of these other themes. I'm worried about only 3 colors. That one scares me a little bit. And that was the highest one on the poll last night. It's not exactly an analog, and I feel like the last time I looked at one of those polls, it wasn't what was actually picked. But I'm a little worried about it because I don't know what I would do. And I'm hoping that we don't get you control the snare, not the character, 1 level but constantly changing, or death is useful. Just don't find any of those that interesting. I don't feel like the design space is so big. I don't want to play that many games on those topics, but whatever we get, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Fine. 6 seconds, supposedly. Check Twitter. The more you have, the worse it is. I was not expecting that. You know, the thing is I think I know exactly what I'm going to do. Because this is one I wrote down early on. It was like, oh, I can use this theme from ages ago. I can finally do it if they pick it. If they're not going to pick it, they're not going to pick it. That's crazy. I think I'm going to do it. So, I need to brood on this. But I think I know what I'm doing. I'll check back in a couple minutes. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do for this. The more you have, the worse it is. I've been wanting to make a sim tower style hospital sim game for a long time. So I should say that my day job is in the healthcare industry, so I know a thing or two about hospitals and how they run, and I've spent a bunch of time in like the non-public areas of hospitals, and know a lot about nurses and doctors, and how the patients move throughout the hospital, and a lot of that sort of stuff. And I've always wanted to kind of make a game about that, because there's a lot that isn't really obvious, and there's a lot to like hospital design that is simultaneously crazy and backwards sometimes and bizarre, and there's so many trade-offs involved, and I probably won't be able to capture a lot of that. But I want to do a more serious job than something like a theme hospital, which is a fine game, but it takes a very comical approach, and it's a kind of simplistic thing, and it you know, it's very light sim. And to my knowledge, I haven't seen like kind of more of a more realistic simulation of what a hospital is like, and I kind of want to get to some of that. I probably won't have time to get into like there's a number of things that would be really interesting to kind of cover, like the industry's shifts in terms of like ACO and how hospitals are being acquired, and how the primary care relates to hospital care and like home care, and probably not going to get to any of what I just said, but there's a lot to just kind of building a hospital and what goes into that, and how you get patient care at the right time. So that's where it's coming from, and that's why I've had this idea for a while and gone like, yeah, that'd be cool, but it's never gonna happen. There's no way. So yeah, I mean, I kind of know what I need to do. The art style is going to be very much sim tower, that probably silhouetted like people, solid colors for different roles: nurse, doctor, transport, patient, family, something like that. Maybe a little bit more animation than Sim Tower. My memory is Sim Tower is like it's a very sped up day, so like the characters sort of teleport to where they're going. I think I'd rather do a more like, you see where they're going. Oh, you can see this patient's taking forever to go from one room to another because you don't have a bed available or a transport person available. Or, boy, those elevators suck, because they do, always. So yeah, I need to simulate elevators. That's key. That really is like, I mean, Sim Tower is basically it's an elevator simulator that happens to also be a game about a tower, but it's an elevator simulator. There's a lot of that in a hospital, but there's a bit more time sensitivity, and there's a lot of there's a lot of the complexity is you got a patient over here, and they need to get over here because you built your radiology department on the opposite side from where their room is, and there's probably a game there, right? Right? Yeah, so I'm just gonna get started because like I know very much what I'm gonna do and what it's gonna look like. And I've done sim games before. I know what the code is probably gonna look like in a lot of ways. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of interesting questions once I get it up and like basic getting a patient in a bed. There's going to be a lot of questions about how this is going to work and how you're going to be able to build from nothing to a hospital. That's one of the big open questions that I have is you're starting from presumably nothing, and you need to like build probably an emergency department, start with like an urgent care center, like build a triage thing, like that'd probably be the first thing you unlock. So build just basic rooms that'll eventually transition into like bays for the ED. Build a waiting room, triage, front desk. Probably combine those last two. But then where does it go? Then you have to build just maybe a nurse station. And the nurse station, maybe that's important. Like you have a nurse station for your ICU, for your ED, for your like step down unit, and they kind of monitor that and just take care of a couple of beds in that area. Like take care of as many as they can. Cleaning staff cleans the bed after patient leaves. Got to have some doctor's offices, so you like place a doctor's office, and they then round on patients maybe. Let's see, what else do I think I can get done? Surgery, yeah, that's probably an important part. Is like, okay, the patient needs surgery, so obviously I'm gonna have to have a bunch of conditions that the patients come in with. And then recommend treatment based on that, and I could just kind of make some guesses and say like, well, there's a couple different ways that any particular thing can happen. You might either just get better quickly on your own, or you might need surgery, and if you don't get surgery in a reasonable amount of time, then it progresses to something worse. Or if you're in a bed for too long, maybe there's a risk of infection and things getting worse for you. Or maybe you need maybe some therapy before you leave. That'd probably be a good mechanism. Is okay, yeah, you come in, you have to do therapy. Probably not going to do anything with OB units, like delivering babies. I don't. That's probably a bunch of art assets, and that's just strange. That's strange. Maybe you can build a helicopter to get people in. Patients come in off the street at first, maybe come in from a bus stop. Yeah, probably a bus stop. And just walk into your emergency department. I can probably have some outpatient clinics, like specialty clinics, that people could just schedule, well, show up for those instead of the ED. So you have some patients coming in for that, like just visits. Could maybe think about doing some stuff with reimbursement. That's all hard to represent in a game fashion in a way that's interesting and fun. I mean, healthcare reimbursement is, if you watch the news, you know, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And it's an absolute backwards nightmare that just is like, who pays? And there's an insurance company that can say no and reject claims, and maybe they don't have insurance, so then they're like going through a grant or something, or like there's a million different things. And what would be, I don't know if I want to deal with insurance companies like denying claims or anything like that. I mean, that's kind of, maybe if I have time, maybe that's some of the like challenge of the game going forward, is like the insurance companies are pushing you to do things with a lower cost. Or no, that doesn't make sense. They're not pushing you to do that. They're giving you less money for patients with the same conditions as they did earlier. So you just have to naturally get better. I definitely need to tie this back into the theme a little bit more strongly. The more you have, the worse it is. And I can do that with the emergency department and having to triage patients, and like you get too many patients and some of them are just going to die in the ED. Shit sucks. But after that, it's a little hard to push the theme, unless I do kind of the insurance thing of like the same patients need to do better, but I have to communicate that to the player, and that's the harder part, is communicating that to the player, because that's the way the insurance companies bill is not something you think about normally, and something that is strange in a video game setting. Like, why am I not getting paid? Oh, I get paid later, like a week later, by this insurance company, except they might deny the claim. Do I want to represent that? I don't think I want to represent that. I mean, I could have like, here's a list of all the patients that have recently discharged and status of claims, and like if you have a backroom office, maybe they have to go through and deal with all of those, and if there's a backlog of those, you're not getting paid. That's not fun. That's not fun at all. It's not fun in the real life. It's not going to be fun in a video game either. But I might do it anyway. Okay, so I thought I would check in again. It is now 12:40, which means it's been, I don't know, 5-6 hours since the theme was announced. And I finally had something to show for it. I got some of the coordinate systems set up, and got it so I can kind of render these things on the screen. So this is kind of the Sim Tower style tower. Yeah. Oh, this building is a lighter shade because this is going to be the active one, and I think this and this other one will unlock later. And when they do, there's going to be like a sky bridge that connects them. Theoretically, at least, I think that will make pathfinding easier. I don't know. It might be a huge headache, but the idea is that a lot of hospitals are these weird hodgepodges of like this building and this building, and like you just have to make it work. And it always seemed weird to me that in Sim Tower you could like just add another floor to a building, because that's a cheap and effective use of resources. Like, no, that's ludicrously expensive. Not necessarily fun. Oh, I also got some zooming. This is probably zooming in way too far. I need to adjust that, but get some zooming so you can kind of move around and dragging around the map. Yeah, so I'm just gonna do a little bit more cleanup tonight, maybe get some stuff a little further along and then go to bed and pick up in the morning. So see you then. This is it. 0 hour. It begins in 3 minutes. 3 minutes until Ludum Dare begins. The panic's setting in a lot, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let's talk about the theme selection. I'm hoping for Broken World, because I think that could be kind of cool. I've got a couple ideas, and I've got a couple pretty wild ideas. So if I can come up with a couple pretty wild ideas, I'm sure a lot of other people can too, and I'm more interested in playing those wild ideas than some of these other themes. I'm worried about only 3 colors. That one scares me a little bit. And that was the highest one on the poll last night. It's not exactly an analog, and I feel like the last time I looked at one of those polls, it wasn't what was actually picked. But I'm a little worried about it, because I don't know what I would do. And I'm hoping that we don't get you control the snare, not the character, one level but constantly changing, or death is useful. Just don't find any of those that interesting. I don't feel like the design space is so big. I don't want to play that many games on those topics, but whatever we get, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Fine. 6 seconds, supposedly. Check Twitter. The more you have, the worse it is. I was not expecting that. You know, the thing is I think I know exactly what I'm going to do. Because this is one I wrote down early on. It was like, oh, I can use this theme from ages ago. I can finally do it if they pick it. If they're not going to pick it, they're not going to pick it. That's crazy. I think I'm going to do it. So, I need to brood on this. But I think I know what I'm doing. I'll check back in a couple minutes. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do for this. The more you have, the worse it is. I've been wanting to make a sim tower style hospital sim game for a long time. So I should say that my day job is in the healthcare industry, so I know a thing or two about